We all know how the story ends.
It's pretty hard to beat a perfect championship season. The Pella Christian Eagles and Coach Jerry Nickel.
But where did the dream begin? What inspired them? What challenged this team's resolve?
Dalma for three, and he nails it. And it's a buzzer.
What made them soar like eagles?
Pella Christian basketball is unique in that the program has existed for over 65 years, and we've only had 3 head coaches throughout that entire time period. And I think that's phenomenal. Dick Vanderlaan was the first head coach, obviously many years ago, and then of course Jerry Nickel took over, very successful in the 90s, and really before that too. And then now Coach Larry Hessing. So it's crazy to think about 65 years of basketball and only 3 head coaches during that time.
For me, my first memories are playing really in the backyard with my brother Kyle. So we had my dad, I can remember him and my uncles and some guys pouring a concrete slab in the back of our house and putting up a hoop. And I just remember, playing out there really all the time.
I grew up on a farm, and when the chores got done and we had a little free time, we'd go and we'd play some kind of sports, whether it be baseball out on the front yard or on our slanted driveway with the basketball hoop mounted to the garage and just shooting, doing a lot of shooting.
Out on my driveway, back when I was a little kid, I had Dr. Matt Gritters. He was just about 3 blocks away from my house, and him and I would come over and play basketball for hours and hours and hours till our moms made us go home and get supper.
We had a hoop on the garage, so I was always playing in the driveway growing up. I remember my dad rebounding while I was shooting. I remember playing inside on a Nerf hoop with my cousins.
First memory is probably at my parents' house, just shooting hoops on our yard where we had a basketball hoop, and always enjoyed that.
Back in when I was younger with my brother in the driveway, and he would teach me several lessons about basketball.
The garage we had at home was like an old barn, and my dad had mounted just a rim on the side of the garage, and my brothers and I would be out there playing all the time. We had worn a great, nice dirt spot right in front of the garage, so we played a lot of time, spent a lot of time out there playing.
First memory of basketball was in the driveway out on the farm, which was a gravel driveway sloped up to the basket, hanging off the garage, and probably 8 feet tall.
My first memory of playing basketball was 2nd, 3rd, or 4th grade at the local YMCA. That's just where we learned some basic fundamentals, and we played on a traveling team that played other communities.
First memories, other than back on the farm growing up, had a hoop against one of the machine sheds and on gravel, and shot hoops a lot there. So always enjoyed shooting hoops, and that was kind of what carried through.
First memory is 5th grade, playing 2-on-2 for the most part at the Pella Christian Grade School. Now and then we'd had 4-on-4, 3-on-3, but for the most part there were 4 of us that played every recess.
My Uncle Marion Klein was a teacher. He taught us, and every time I see my Uncle Marion to this day, he goes, "Do you know how many times you guys played basketball 2-on-2 that year during recess?" Every single recess we would go out there, and it'd be me and Sean Byer versus Dan Olivier and Mark McGore.
If Dan and I would lose, they would let us know it. they were very, very competitive, and we did not like to lose. We didn't like to sit through the whole second half of the day being taunted by Sean Byer that we lost.
The class that was a year ahead of ours ended up being the class of 1989 at Pella Christian High School, and the class of Pella Christian 1990 went to battle a lot during those junior high years, playing basketball during those recess breaks.
Yeah, we played a lot during recess. I mean, those two steel hoops with steel chains, I just remember every time you make a shot, that cool sound when the chains would just tingle, and we were out there playing the cold, the hot, the fog, the rain. We just loved basketball.
You would always see the older guys playing, and then you'd like try to sneak in if you could and get a little playing time. But yeah, you'd always watch those guys playing, and then obviously trying to mimic what they did.
We really thought that in '84 that we had a state tournament team, and would it be the first one in the school's history, and we really thought we had one.
I had older siblings, so my brother Terry and sister Carla were older than I, and they had some great teams back then. I remember specifically, right, the teams like with Greg Van Zulen and Steve Vermeer, and I would go to all of those games.
I grew up in Sully, not in Pella, so I would always be excited for the Sully guys that would make the team. And there were a couple of Sully area kids that were on that '84 team that really inspired me.
Greg Van Zulen would be the first one of the memories watching him play. I wanted to walk like him. I wanted to talk like him. I just wanted to be Greg Van Zulen. That's what my goal was.
I think it was in 4th or 5th grade. We had to write a letter to somebody we admired, and I actually wrote a letter to him.
That was a great team that should have went to state, but didn't. And at that time, I'm thinking to myself, man, you must have to be a really, really good team to make the state championship.
That sub-state game in Newton at the high school was an unbelievable game. It was people, a mass of people everywhere. The place was packed, and they were sitting in the balconies with their legs dangling over the edge. And it was probably the hottest gym I think I've ever been in.
I remember sitting way up in the crowd at the very top of the bleachers watching that game and seeing the battle between the point guard and sharpshooter Matt Schaefer for Ballard, and of course Greg Van Zulen and all of his team members. And yeah, we really believed, all of us, that was going to be an opportunity for us to see our heroes really have the success that no one else had and achieve something that no other Pella Christian team had achieved.
Even before the game started, it was, such an electric atmosphere, even with the cheerleaders, right? Our cheerleaders would go and crowd would go and be loud, and then theirs would go and it'd be louder, and it was going back and forth. And I remember that game and just, wanting so bad, right, for those guys to win. And I remember when Greg fouled out, and I still can remember him putting his arm around the ref and kind of talking to him.
No one had ever gone to state from Pella Christian, so you want to be that first one, right? And to be honest, I don't even remember, it was Ballard of Huxley and us, and we were 1 and they were 2, or vice versa. To be honest, I can't even remember anymore. So you had that pressure of 1 versus 2 going into that final game, and unfortunately we had to play each other in that sub-state final. So you knew a really good team was going to go home and be pretty disappointed, and unfortunately it was us.
We were really downhearted after the game, and thought, well, if that team was not good enough to make it to state, maybe we weren't ever going to go to state.
It was a big disappointment. It was devastating. I know it was, for them as well, but for these little kids that have watched their every move and seen them play and been attending most of those games with high hopes. High school athletes, when you're a 6th grader, those are some pretty neat memories. Those some your first heroes that you remember playing.
Just crushing as a kid, right, that they didn't win, but I think also was very much part of the experience of wanting to, as I got older, then wanting to kind of accomplish that I felt like not only the team, but the community had just been wanting for so long to, make it to state and, win a championship.
It was kind of our motivation from that point on, just to, that team was close, but we're not going to accept being close.
I remember on the playground afterwards, recounting the events of that night against Ballard, and making a commitment as a group of kids at that time, saying, if we get that opportunity, we're going to have to finish it. We're going to do this. We're going to get there.
Totally brought the commitment to the goal as a team to do that, even at 6th grade at that level.
I think, we had high expectations. The only thing was that we were mostly juniors. At least the nucleus of our scoring was coming from juniors.
The senior class was probably more athletic than our class. Jeff Zostra could dunk, right? They were kind of high-flying and fun to watch.
We started off just red hot. We beat Pella by 20 points at the beginning of the year, and then we lost to them at the end of the year. It felt like we should have been at state tournament, and we were not. I just remember sitting at home watching the tournament and going, man, we're better than a lot of these teams, but we just couldn't get past Pella. It was always trying to get past Pella,
We thought we had a good enough team to go. And then when Pella beat us to go to state, that kind of woke us up too. Like, we got to get better.
And that team had developed and gotten better and better. They were known as the Cardiac Kids, where they spent a lot of their games behind, but making big comebacks.
Gosh, I remember that very vividly as well, just the defeat, right? And kind of then, what it meant for the rest of the summer, right? You lost, they won, the things that they were able to accomplish, and having to watch them do that, right? So, yeah, it's not a great memory, but I remember what that felt like.
That was devastating. And yeah, that seems like 2 years ago, even though it was 31 years ago.
Probably the most excruciating defeat I've ever experienced in sports. And I think that was a catalyst, though, for the very next year.
No, that's probably the biggest, biggest disappointing game. I wasn't playing as a varsity player. I was a JV player at that point, so I wasn't on the varsity team. But that was, we all had our hearts set on going to state that year. We hadn't been. Thought that was the year.
To not make it and then to lose it against your rival, it was extra hurtful, I think. And so there was some pain in that.
The guys that were really the starters and into that game that I was great friends with, they're being dejected after the game. It was a tough loss.
I just remember how difficult that was on my brother and how difficult that was on Jeff, and just wanting to feel, even that much more determined, right?
We had gotten close and felt like something was taken from us, and knew that we couldn't let that happen again. There's something that happens when you enter your last year of any kind of competition where, there's always future opportunities that lay ahead as a younger player, but there wasn't going to be any of that for us.
There's a thing called Legends of the Pool, and back in the day the pool was the place to play, and it was for all the older people, and several of the local players from all around the community always came down there to play. And finally one day my brother was like, you're going to start playing down there with all the older guys. It's about time that you advanced. And I remember that was my first big memory of playing with Woody and Brent and Mark and all those guys down at the pool and learning my lessons back then.
We lived in town, and the swimming pool park was close by, Kiwanis Park was close by, and I can remember almost every Sunday afternoon we'd be out playing basketball, and you'd have 20, 30 guys trying to play, rotate in to play hoops as much as we could. Every Sunday afternoon at Swimming Pool Park was a big deal, and I think that's where me as an individual and a lot of other people as individuals and us as a team got better, because we were out there together with other guys, whatever, older kids that pushed us, and that's where a lot of improvement happened, was that during the off season.
I think the thing that made the most difference is we played probably 4 to 5 times a week just at local Pella City parks. Just a cement court with a hoop on each end. They had chain nets, and it'd be hot, hot, hot. And we played games, and there were 2 courts. So a game going on each court, 4 teams at a time. And usually there were about 30 people there wanting to play from the community, from Pella community, from Pella Christian. So if you lost, you sat out, and you kept playing if you kept winning. So we were really at the point where we just wanted to keep playing ball. We wanted to keep winning, we wanted to keep playing.
We were pretty fanatic about playing basketball and wanting to, get back to that level and even further that next year.
It was pretty rough down there. To score down there, to play good, you had to man up. And I think that summer really changed my game from, being tough, but being mentally tough and physically tough. A lot of us were down there every Sunday.
The Parkways, you're getting guys who are in college, right, who are coming down there to play. So just having that physicality, competitiveness, you lose, you sit, right? So even the importance of winning and being able to continue to play, because the worst thing is there's a bunch of guys down there, you lose, you sit for like 2 games to wait your turn again. It's not a lot of fun. So I think that, it certainly continues to drive that competitiveness that I think is so important.
In the preseason, actually, before practice even starts, every 8th period, we had to get in shape for the season. So we had to, we went outside that school and started doing our calisthenics and stretching out, talking to teammates how the day went. And all of a sudden, Coach Nickel goes, "Okay, time to follow me," and he blows his whistle, and he's on his moped. And so we all just start jogging behind him, and all around town. I don't know what the community thought of this.
I think Coach Nickel told us one time, we're not going to stop running until somebody throws up. So we gave Brent Giddings a bunch of cold raw hot dogs before we ran, and then he threw those up, so we quit running.
Yeah. So I of course he's leading us as we're running, and I remember some days being like quite cold, and we're just out there freezing but chasing down the moped. I remember everybody else behind me, so that's really.
I saw one guy even get picked up by his friend and for 2 blocks or 3 blocks, and then dropped him off again.
I think because we were a down to basics type of team, that enabled us to have those extra moments of fun, because we were organized, everybody respected the time slot, we were ready for practice when it was time to be ready for practice. I mean, we did what we did well while we did it. I think that's just what enabled us to have a good off season, a good, off the court time too.
I've had a lot of coaches do crazy things when it came to conditioning, and I think at the end of the day, the conditioning piece is certainly probably paramount, obviously, in why you're doing it, to prepare you for the season physically. But I think in a weird way, it does even more so, mentally, and in terms of bonding you together as a team because of what you're suffering or going through together.
There was incredible pressure. I think as coaches, we didn't talk about, even as players, we didn't talk about, this was a team that anything less than making the state tournament, I believe would have been a real disappointment. Mark Van Gorp, he had size, he had all the talent in the world, and you knew he was going to get you double figures points, probably close to double figures rebounds, play defense. Brent Giddings, great inside player, great technician, rebounder, and he could score. Woody Klein, always in the right place at the right time. Never looked flashy, but he was steady. You knew what he was going to get from Woody Klein every single game. You didn't need to tell him twice to, he knew he was quite honestly like a coach on the floor. Troy probably, looking back, probably sacrificed more than anybody. Troy could probably get you 20 points every night. But you know what? In the team concept of games, he was willing to step back and take the points, when they came to him. The thing about Eric, you always knew, if you get in a tight game, if there's ever a foul, he's going to make every free throw. And, as a point guard, you have the ball in your hands a lot. You can't ask for more than that. Brad Wiener was a great player. I guarantee you he would have been starting on every team anywhere. He was a sixth man that, when he come in, he had an impact on the game. He didn't need to work himself in. He had an impact immediately. Chad Dealman, started towards the end of the season, coming in to spell the big guys, sophomore. Great size, 6'7". Not many teams have that to bring off their bench.
I knew pretty much that I was going to be in a backup role. And so my goal became, look, I'm going to bust my tail every practice to make these guys better.
I remember talking to Kevin one night. I said, you know what, Kevin, you're probably not going to play a lot this year. And he goes, yeah. I said, I'm a practice player. I said, you know what? I want you to make sure that you have all them practice players working the first team so hard, because you're going to make it the season. He goes, Coach, don't worry. I'll take care of that.
I felt like our practices come that next year where it was kind of a no kidding around type attitude, right? We were getting after it, getting after each other, you know, really pushing each other in practices. I still to this day think that, you know, some of the hardest competition all during that year was, you know, not the games, but, you know, in practices going up against each other and just, you know, how hard, you know, we were pushing.
We spent a ton of time on team defense. We spent a ton of time on rebounding drills. There were the little things that we knew we had to be successful in. The loose balls. I was probably renowned for being on the floor and having skinned knees more than having my 2 feet on the ground as a defender. That was my role as a player, and I lived out that role on the practice courts as well.
Our practices, we're playing against, you know, as reserves, we're playing against these guys that were some of the top players in the state when you look back at it. And of course you got better and better playing against them, and we got better as reserves and were able to push those starters to, you know, get better.
I still think about Greg Ecoff is still the one player who would always get me in the air. That guy would pump fake me and I'd stay on the ground for the first pump fake and the second pump fake, but that third or fourth pump fake would always get me in the air, and it would always make me so mad, Greg, that you could get me in the air.
They made us better because they'd hound us like mad defensively, and we didn't have much of a step off when we went up against first string guys, you know, against our typical competition, because those guys knew how to make us better and challenge us hard. And they took pride in that as well, and I think that's something that can't go unsaid as a part of this, that they were influential in what we were able to accomplish, and we owe a lot to them, making those practices profitable times for us to get better as a team.
We had to do our part to make them better. They sure did their part to make us better too, because seeing what they did, plus also having to get better technique and fundamentally to actually compete with them, being around that every day, you do get better.
I was looking forward each day to practice. After being in the classroom all day, I wanted to go to practice. It was a fun place to be.
As a coach, I've been so blessed with good players and good coaches around me. I still always say, you know, a good coach has got to have tremendous assistants, because they're what really make things happen.
Coach Nickel he was a fantastic coach. And the more as years went on, I realized he was, in my mind, one of the best coaches I've ever been around or ever seen.
We all wanted to please Coach Nickel, I think. The effect that Coach Nickel had on our team is that we wanted to see him smile. We wanted to see him enjoy himself. We knew that when he smiled, and you didn't see it often, but when you did, it was that classic smile that he gave us, that we'd accomplished something, and that made us feel good. We loved him. We loved to be challenged by him and see the changes that occurred in his demeanor when we rose to those challenges.
You can't get any better than Coach Nickel. And he brought out the best in me as well, though. I mean, he knew how to, you know, the drills, everything, the practices. He really motivated you to be the best player you could be.
It was a great season to enter. The preseason rankings came out, you know, and we were high on that list. And then once the season started, you know, Washington was the preseason #1 team. They had a kid by the name of Steve Brown that was an excellent player. So we played them early on at Central College. It was quite a game.
But one thing I remember is, you know, we knew the players coming back for Washington. And as we come out for warm-ups that night, there was this big guy underneath the basket, like just shagging rebounds. And this guy was probably 6'7", built, I mean, he was probably 230 pounds. And we're looking at this guy like, who is this guy? And Coach Nickel went down and talked to the Coach Tremble down at Washington, and he said he'll be eligible for the second semester. And we're like, son of a gun. You know, now we know Washington is good. They're a power. And of course, now we're thinking about state tournament. We're thinking, you know, looking forward, there's another roadblock.
I remember the hype, for sure. I mean, it was a big, big game.
Central College campus where Pella Christian 6 seconds away from knocking off number 1 Washington. Eric Pott over at the line for 1. They're going to shot in, and Pella Christian will get the ball back. 64-57.
Later, because I think part of it was I should have held the ball, not shot it. Sportsmanship, we had the game won, I shouldn't have shot it. But the second one is it made it a 10-point game, so that made it look worse than what it was.
The Washington game was huge to that win because they had some great players, and we knew that to get to our ultimate goal, it would probably go through them eventually again, and at Vets probably. So to beat them, knew that we could play with anybody, and we already knew that, but to actually do it, you know.
That was a close game. That was hard fought. They were a very good team, and once we got to state, I think they overlooked Forest City because they wanted to play us again.
The best memories of that season are the time together, even off the floor. We had fun on the floor, but we did a lot of team dinners. Coach and Judy Nickel hosted us a lot.
We could do anything together, and most of those players played multiple sports at that time. Just we enjoyed, you know, we didn't have to get to know each other when the basketball season started. We knew each other exceptionally well.
As seniors, we had uniforms that were so small that I wish I had one today, just to show people, because they see them. They say, "How did you? Those shorts are." They just can't imagine we'd fit in those shorts. And I wish we had some around just to show. And then we had like 3 that really 5 of us needed to wear.
Since I played some JV games, you know, sometimes you'd play JV and then you'd come up and play varsity. Well, there was one game where I had played and I went in the locker room to get ready, and they had left me a pair of shorts. Well, actually somebody had stretched them too far and had ripped them out. And usually we took our warm-up bottoms off, and you know, before the game, and I left mine on, and later in the game it just happened to be that I got called up to get in the game at the end, and I kind of shook my head, and they looked down and said, "Hey, get in the game, Chad, you know, come on, let's go." And I said, "I can't, you know, and I had to explain that my shorts were ripped out." So, and Nickel just shook his head and was like, well, you know, afterwards they figured it all out, but I was so embarrassed.
I can't remember if it was right before the season started or sometime during the middle of the season. Coach Byer put a red barn hanging from the locker room, and we all walked in and were like, "Oh, that's really cool."
Some of the memories I have are just after practice, you know, our hands all in the huddle, right? And just what felt like almost a half hour of Coach Nickel just kind of casually talking to us, right? And making jokes about this or that.
What you truly remember 30 years later is everything that took place behind the scenes. Again, the practices, the summer nights playing basketball together at the park. Those are the things that I view as highlights and I remember as much as anything.
And here we are with the tip-off. There was a lot of games during the season that got us prepared for the tournament run, obviously. But, you know, I can remember the Ballard game as a homecoming game. And, of course, with the size of the gym at Pella Christian, it was moved to Pleasantville. And Ballard had a good team. It was, they had a really good team. And it was probably one of our tightest games of the year.
I got a ball. I got all this.
Ballard with the ball. 21. Down to 23. Inside the 51. He goes up off the glass. No good. Bounced around and grabbed by Woody. 41. Gets the rebound. Cole gets it. Stolen by Giddings. Woody grabs it. Gives it to Podoven. Podoven 3-on-1 fast break. Tuvengorp. He passes it to Vandermoor. He is fouled on the shot by 51 Robbie Oliver. And we have got our game for you. Very fast tempo. It's been a long time this year since Pella Christian has faced anything as strong as this team. As Gladwina checks into the game for Mark Van Gorp.
You know, that was Ballard, right? We just always had really good competition, you know, with Ballard.
21 over to 43. His shot is up and it's good for the three-point basket.
I don't recall expecting Ballard to be that good. I just didn't expect it. You know, and again, it's been a while now. I don't know if it was because they were better than we thought. I don't know if it's because we didn't play great or it was homecoming and we're all excited and kind of not as focused with everything else going on out, you know, to get ready for homecoming.
Ballard inbounds to 43. 43, three-pointer. It's up and good. Ballard only behind by 4 now. Podoven's first shot is up and it's no good. Touch last by Vandermoor, and it'll be Ballard's ball. Ballard inbounds to 25, back to 23. Over to 51 to 43. Shoots the baseline three-point shot, and it's good! Ballard only behind by 1 now.
I remember that game pretty well. That I was like, man, this is going to be our first loss.
3 seconds, 2 seconds, and Ballard commits the foul. Vandermoor's first shot is up, and it's good. His second shot is also good. Ballard inbounds this to 23. He shoots it up, and it's no good. What a finish. Pella Christian wins it 65 to 62. Saying so long from Pleasantville High School gym. This is Eric Moore.
Was I guarding that guy?
I don't know.
The Pella Christian community was sports crazed at that time, which was so fun. It was a neat time for the community to come together and just celebrate.
Some of my fondest memories is the crowd that, besides the players having determination, the fans, the crowd, everybody was behind us.
Nothing that will ever match kind of the feeling of a community supporting a team and just, you know, feeling so fortunate really as I look back on it now that I just got to play, you know, a small part in being, you know, in that experience.
Seeing the community evolve around that season and seeing the momentum build as the season went on and seeing the excitement in the community. Those are things that you don't see very often as you go through life, because those events don't happen very often.
But that's the thing that I really appreciate, having grown up in the Pella area and spending some time in Northwest Iowa, just the tradition and the generation after generation that support schools like Pella Christian and the other Christian schools in the Iowa area. So, you know, it's generation after generation that come along and support. So you have, you know, people that were probably at that 1984 game that are still going to games today, right? And I think that's what makes that kind of culture and that kind of community very unique.
Number 1 team in Class 2A in the entire state of Iowa, Pella Christian, against the team that
before the game, the one thing we had talked about was, it was great, right? We beat them earlier in the year. We handled it pretty easily. Losing to them at that point would have not been good.
As a team, collaboratively, we were like, that is not going to happen.
I think we was trying to keep it pretty low key. We didn't want to add any more pressure. We knew that obviously one of the Pella teams was going to get knocked out that night. And, I think it was, we need to get out to a good start. We want to make sure we don't get in a big hole like we did the year before.
Pella Christian has its way inside. It'll be Pella Christian's game. We're underway. And the Pella Christian Eagles have the basketball to get things started. Troy Vandermolen and Eric Pothoven in the backcourt for the maroon-clad Eagles. Mark Van Gorp up front, Ryan Klein and Brent Geeting. They work on a man-to-man defense. Van Gorp inside, shot no good. Klein with the offensive board. Follow shot is good. Nice putback by Woody Klein to start the ball game. Balster fell down that time, going for the offensive rebound. Couldn't scramble out of the lane in time. 3 seconds. Here's Vandermolen for 3. Troy Vandermolen. Here come the Eagles. Pothoven brings it in, stops, kicks off to Vandermolen. Down underneath, there's Wienia. Gives the ball tipped away from behind, and Lucas comes out of there with it. It's Lucas going in on Pothoven all the way to the hoop. Layup is no good, and Vandermolen got the rebound. And the Little Dutcher is a little bit tight. I think that's right, Paul, because you don't miss that layup if you're playing the kind of basketball you want to play. Pothoven for 3. It's good, and all of a sudden, Pella Christian has jumped out to a 17-5 lead. And Pella breaks it across the timeline. Here's Randy Smith, open for 3. Good! Randy Smith for 3. And it's a 5-point ball game, 30-25. No matter what you say, Paul, left-hander has an advantage. Mark Van Gorp, hook shot, no good. Lippy with the rebound and a foul on Ryan Klein. And that'll be Woody's 3rd foul. Woody Klein wants to put it in play, gets it into Thielemann. Shot is good. The sophomore's first basket is a big one. Big bucket off the out-of-bounds play. 56-46, a 10-point lead for the Eagles. But Pella got the ball to start the 4th quarter, so it had gone back to the Eagles. Officials, along with myself, a little premature on the call. It does belong to the Eagles. Pothoven for 3 points, no good. Woody Klein rebound is good. Nice big foot there for Pella Christian. Offensive rebounding. Coming to the forefront again for Pella Christian. I believe I've got 10 points on putbacks for him. Wade Van Dyke powers his way in, misses the shot, fight for the rebound, and Woody Klein got it. Vandermolen has it off to Geeting. Then layup is good. Brent Geeting's first basket of the night. Here's Brad Rimpey going in. His shot on the way is no good. Taken away by Van Gorp. And that might have just been it. Ryan Klein off to Vandermolen. Klein back door. Layup is good. Final score tonight, Pella Christian 67 and Pella 49. Pella Christian improves to 20-0, and they will advance to play in a district final tomorrow night here at Central College.
It relieved a lot of pressure, quite honestly. I don't know if we could have stood another loss to Pella in 2 in a row with the team that we had. And, I think it was, we got that one off our back. And I don't know if many people understand the pressure at that time with both teams from Pella in the same class.
All the way from 2nd grade to that night, every practice, every game that I had been involved in led up to that game. It had to go through Pella. It had to beat them, and that was the night. And we did it, and we did it, and it's unbelievable.
We're waiting for the Peachtree Eagles to come out on the floor, and here they are. Crowd's going wild as cheerleader Dick Brooksford is egging them on.
They set up the sub-states before the season began. And I remember stopping over to Coach Nichols' house one day in the summer, and he goes, hey, he said, the sub-state pairing just come out. He said, Creston's in our bracket. He said, they're good.
That was the game of the night. The TV station said, because what was Creston going in, number 6 or something like that, and we were 1 or 2 depending on the poll. But that supposedly was going to be the game of the night. That was the one everybody should go to, and because it was going to be such a close, hard-fought game.
We're going to have to play our best game here. This is this is get to state. This is where we've never gone before, right?
This is it, you know. We're going to be like the other teams and go home after this, or we're going to actually win it and go to state.
The night before, I was talking to Mark Van Gorp, and he goes, you know what? He said, tomorrow's going to be a great night. He said, it's going to be so fun to be the first school to go to state tournament. And I said, Mark, you're exactly right.
Pella Christian with the ball down the floor quickly to Klein. Takes a drive, looks for Van Gorp underneath and scores and fouls. And the foul is on number 31, Clint Baker. Ball over to Pothoven, quickly down the floor across the timeline. Pothoven in the paint, up and scores. BC takes the lead, 16-13.
We got out early, and I think pretty early on, we looked at it and said, we're the better team. And we didn't have a let up.
Spin move, shot is up and misses. Rebounded by Van Gorp, over to Klein in the corner. Shot is up and scores! Basket by Whitty Klein. Pothoven across the timeline. Over in the corner to Vandermolen. Shot by Vandermolen. Three-pointer and scores! 3-point by Vandermolen.
I remember Troy having an excellent game that game, and just, you know, that too was one where I feel like we did not let down, right? That score just kept getting bigger.
I was able to hit a couple shots in the corner, 3-pointers that spread the gap, and from then the route was on.
It's a 3-point shot and misses, and rebounded by Eric Pothoven. Dribbles behind his back down the floor. Bounce pass over to Vandermolen, up and scores! 82 for Pella Christian, 45 for Preston. And Chad Dieleman replaces Mark Van Gorp, who comes out of the game having played a tremendous game. And he is really happy.
I mean, he usually never showed much emotion. He played, but he was jumping when he came off the floor for the reserve, and when he came off, done playing, you just didn't see that. So you knew there was some relief in that, and he was just letting it out at that point.
It was a blowout from the beginning. We played well. Everything was clicking. It was just one of those games. And then what I remember most is coming out of the game, and then I just kind of lost my marbles for a little bit and just started jumping up and down a half court like a crazy person. But I mean, everything that we'd worked for actually just like, it just let go. Like, we can celebrate a little bit.
I went on the floor, and one of the coaches said, just shoot it as soon as you get it.
Benson starts across the timeline. Long pass over to DeBryan. DeBryan shoots a long shot. Scores!
And I did it, and somehow the ball went through the net hoop. And it gave us 100 points. People still talk about that shot today. Is it crazy how you don't, or maybe if you're from Oscar or whatever, you'll go to a game and people will bring that up, you know? And it's just the stuff people remember. It's so weird, because that shot, it didn't win a game or anything, but people remember just stuff that sticks in your mind, you know?
Pella Christian wins 100-53, and the crowd is mobbing out on the floor, mobbing Coach Jerry Nickel and the Pella Christian basketball team.
Getting up on the ladder and cutting down that net with what seemed like the entire town of Pella surrounding us on the floor that night, that's a memory that I'll always have.
I just remember family members of mine coming across the court to say, oh, we're so proud of you, you know.
Cutting down the nets, man, that was the coolest thing ever. Climbing up on that ladder, hearing all the fans congratulating you. Everybody should have that opportunity, right? But it's such a special one that it's only reserved for the people that are good enough to do it. But it was pretty awesome.
Seeing the way that impacted our families, right? The students in the school, all of that together, the community, it wasn't over, right? Like, we knew we had more to accomplish. That was not the ultimate goal. It was one of the goals, but it was not the ultimate goal.
Coach Nick always said I was kind of the pessimistic guy, but I believe that game was the indicator that we can win state tournament with this crew.
Said, you know, you wouldn't realize what it is every day in practice to coach this group of young men. I said, there's never a bad word said. There's never a skirmish on the floor. They never go at each other. There never is elbow thrown or anything like that. You know, it's a coach's dream. I don't know where you could coach and have any more fun than what we do in our system. We are absolutely there. For the first time ever in the history of the school, we are there.
Man, a few words when it comes to going to the state tournament. Jerry Nickel. Jerry's wearing the net.
I got to thank all the fans. I tell you what, to have those people come down here at the time they came down tonight, and to absolutely do all their chants, and this one's for them as well as anybody else. And superb support. I cannot absolutely believe the support, and I don't know where else you could coach and get this kind of support either. I really don't. And we just praise God for it because it was a fantastic win.
Western's always there. I mean, they were always at the tournament. We knew they would be tough. And there was a lot of excitement around the two Christian schools getting to that point and having to play each other.
My cousin played for Western Christian the year before, so he was on their state tournament team, and I went and watched. Right, we had obviously wanted to make it to state that year, but didn't. But I got to watch my cousin Scott Wiener play. And to just remember thinking, oh, such a good team, right? Not only good shooters, but guys that played well inside.
For me personally, it had even a little bit more because my cousin was a coach of Western. So, of course, we wanted to beat them really bad.
We had a scattering report already on Western, and they're bigger than us. I think we were a little intimidated by that. They're all, every position, they're taller than us, right? We've never seen that ever.
The whole day, Thursday, because it's an 8 o'clock game, I believe. I just remember writing on my notebook, beat Western on my notebook all day long. Just trying to focus in on the game. I didn't hear what any teachers were talking about that day.
We were confident after the last 3 or 4 games we'd played, but at the same time, you have this little seed of doubt in your mind because you're not the favorite.
We're down to 11 seconds left to play in the first quarter, and the ball goes out of bounds. Tracy Vanderbilt of Leapford could not take the pass. It goes over his head.
Interestingly, there with the last 10 seconds of the quarter, Western went into a half-court all-out break their zone press.
All right, and now with 4 seconds left to go, and a shot is good, a three-pointer from way outside the three-point line. A three-point shot by Ross Dalma. Woo! I mean, the start couldn't have been any worse. It was by far our worst start of the year.
Western had firepower, and they was making threes, they was making plays. And, it was all we could do just to keep in the game.
The first half, they are on fire. They cannot miss.
Western Christian at home, 24, Pella Christian 12. Eagles now on defense as the Indians have the ball. A shot, first one is no good, second one is good by Dave Van Essen. Dave Van Essen working on that one, put through the rebound shot, 26-12. Western Christian of Hull has the lead. Bounce pass over to Pothoven, and here's Pella Christian. He comes down off the bracket too hard, and the rebound taken by Western Christian.
We were playing great defense. We'd have a hand in their face, and they'd still make it. And I thought to myself, man, okay, I do remember thinking this to myself, this is the difference, okay? This is the difference between a good teams that we played during the year and the elite team.
1:47 left to play in the first half, and he makes his second free throw, and it's now 32-20, a 12-point lead for Western Christian of Hull. Well, they play defense, they play offense, they do it all. Now, Western Christian with the ball, and they're going against a 1-2-2 zone. Out to Chad Clinton. Over the right side to Oosterning. Back again into the corner. Wide open shot for two by number 41, Tim Letman. 34-20.
Right before halftime, I was a little bit out of sync, and then I cut across the lane and got a pass from the wing.
By Koima, he can't make it. The ball comes down, rebounded by the Eagles of Pella Christian. They have it. Okay, Pothoven with it off the line, goes down the middle, and a beautiful play that time. Mark Van Gorp coming right down the middle, right down the paint, puts it up there. And so we have a 10-point ball game.
And that really loosened me up. That just made me think, okay, the second half is going to be much, much better.
We got to keep it around 10 at half, and we'll be fine. And, quite honestly, as a coach, you're thinking, gosh, I hope we don't get blowed out. We hope we don't get buried, because quite honestly, Western had the firepower to bury you.
Down court with the basketball now. Here comes Pothoven. Pothoven down there. He shoots it. It's no good. And they can't get the alley-oop out of it either. As Pothoven trying to hit Mark Van Gorp and time ran out on him. And so the halftime score is Hull, Western Christian 34, Pella Christian 24.
I wouldn't say we're panicked or anything like that, but we'd never been down before, you know, so that was the scariest thing to me. It was like, it's a new thing, you know, we got to come back here. And, but it was not panic mode. I don't think there's one guy in that locker room or coach, whoever, who did not think that we would not come back and win that game. Everybody thought that we were still going to win that game. Even though we got beat down pretty good in the first half, we still thought we had it.
At halftime yet, we were not going into a pressure game with them. We were still just, I think most of our talk was about how to stop Van Essen, who was a good scorer for them, and maybe the Koyman kid, who was having a good game at the guard spot for him.
As we're warming up before the second half on the court, I remember saying, like, to Eric and Mark and Brent, it's the only way we're going to come back on this game is if we do not let them score.
And if we don't let them score again, we can score more points than they can. We'll win this thing. And man, we came out there in the second half. Well, we trimmed the deficit a little bit in the first half, but we came out in the second half and just never gave up. We trusted our teammates. Everybody had a position to play, and we all did it the whole game.
In a weird way, because things were so easy for them to start the game, that when we started to make a run, I felt like they kind of tightened up a little bit.
Eric Pothoven. Bounce pass over to Van Molen. Top of the circle to Klein. Klein drives down. One-handed quick shot is good, and he fouls! Well, that's the break they've been looking for. Ross Dalma. Here's a three-point shot. Good by Todd Koyman. 5 3-point shots. Just when you think you got these guys, they come streaming back out again with a three-pointer by Todd Koyman. Ball on the inside to Mark Van Gorp, and back out again. Here's a three-pointer right back again by Vandermolen.
They answered us. They answered every third quarter threat we had. I couldn't believe it. I remember, I'll be honest with you, in the third quarter, I think I made a shot, or Eric, I don't know who it was, but then they came down and just made one right away.
Played very well in halftime, and they're actually 2 points further behind than they were coming in. I know, that's amazing. Just the harder they try, but you just can't make even one little mistake against these guys, and they'll cash in for 2 or 3 points. And now here's Pothoven, a three-pointer. Eric Pothoven stands out there. Nobody guards him, so he puts it away. And now out to Bacher. They come inside, and the shot is so good. Attempted by Van Essen. Rebound taken by Pella. Chance to get this down to 7 or 6. Pothoven to Wiener. He shoots it. It is no good. The ball pops out. Rebound shot is good. And a foul is called on Hull Western Christian. Shot is good by Pella Christian.
Just think about Mark and Brent. I mean, those guys, they were so good, and they could physically, kind of dominate in that way and change the trajectory of a game.
Eric Pothoven has it. Arrow points to PC. 57-53. They're going to clear it out for Eric. He's going to drive all the way in. Cut off by Van Essen. Forces his way up. Gets the shot in. The foul! Oh! He steps through. Lays it up off balance. Gets the foul and the basket on Mulder.
What a future that kid has, Paul.
Unbelievable.
Late in the game, we decided to run what we called our 31 press.
Eric at the line tonight where he's 10 for 10. Free throw up is good. It's good. 1-point ball game. Eagles pressing.
I saw the guy getting kind of trapped over here, and I baited him to throw that cross court. I just like, man, if he throws that, I'm going to get it.
Koyman is trapped. He throws it across. It's intercepted by Keating. Gives it off to Pothoven. He goes in. Woody Klein will score. Basket. 58-57. PC on top by 1.
I had to get that ball. And as soon as I got that ball, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go down and hammer this thing down, dunk it right, and the crowd's going to go crazy. And all of a sudden, there's 2 Western guys in my way. I'm like, nah, this isn't going to work.
I can still hear the noise of the crowd when that happened.
Pothoven to Klein.
Yeah, that was as good as it got.
I remember the 2 crowds. Oh, goodness gracious. One whole half of the auditorium was cheering for us. The other whole half was cheering for them. It was just a crazy situation to be in. It was so much fun.
when we made the steal, made the pass, made the basket, and just the eruption of sound that happened with that. And it was pandemonium.
We knew we could do it, but having that play out the way that it did, of him getting that steal and taking the lead finally, within the last minute of the game.
It's all going to be decided in 15 seconds, in 13 seconds. Coming in for the shot, it's no good, and a foul is called on Pella. 10 seconds to play.
The game still wasn't over. After I graduated, I went to Dordt College. I played basketball for 2 years, and one of my teammates at that time was Todd Koyman.
First one is up and no good! He missed it. He left it short. It's still a 1-point lead for Bella Christian, 58-57. Pardon us if we scream. Koyman's second free throw is up and no good. Rebound for Woody Klein, and Woody is fouled. Koyman missed the foul.
Second arrow favors Bella Christian. No, there's a foul called. The other official's got a foul.
They called the foul.
I didn't know it at the time, but he had the exact same situation occur to him in their loss in the state tournament the year prior as well. And so I felt bad for him after the fact that he had to be the one to experience that, not just once, but twice. But, there was no stopping us. There was something happening there that the change was imminent, and something was going to happen that was going to give us that game.
Klein will go to the free throw line. They probably would just as soon have had possession as in shooting the free throw. I think so. But if they make the free throws, of course, they just about put the thing out of reach.
There's a timeout. And I grabbed Woody as I said, Woody, you've made thousands of free throws. Woody Klein practiced free throws all the time growing up. And I said, you need to nail these two. He said, don't worry, coach. Got her done.
I knew I was going to make them, but I was tired. Okay, that's the thing. I had missed 3 before that, because I was just so, I didn't want to come out though either. I could not come out. I was not going to come out of that game.
And now at the free throw line is Klein. His shot is up. It's good! Ryan Klein for Pella Christian gives us electric Pella team a 2-point lead. 59-57, 8 seconds to play in the game. This place will be a man out after this. The shot is good again. 3-point lead. And now coming down court with the ball. Mulder with it. 4 seconds to play. Shoots it. No good. Ball game is. 1 second to go. 1 second to go. But a foul is called. A foul is called on Hall Western Christian. They can't believe it.
So many things had to go right in the last 45 seconds. Brent Giedings came up with the steal. Woody made the layup. And their best free throw shooter missed 2 free throws. It's another thing that makes the season so special.
Those 2 missed free throws, in my mind, allowed us to win the ball game. But that doesn't just happen. I think that happened because they were playing not to lose, because we kept getting closer, and we were playing to win.
Across the way, they're all cheering, and there is the last shot of the game. The game is over. One of the most incredible, impossible, unbelievable comeback in state tournament history. A team of destiny.
It's over! It's over! 60-57! It's over! The biggest win in Pella Christian boys basketball history, Paul.
Regular programs will not be seen at this time, so that we might bring you this special sports feature. Pella Christian coming in, rated number 1 by Associated Press, number 2 by the Des Moines Register. Forest City, rated number 3 by the Register, number 5 by Associated Press. The only time the Indians have lost this year to Mason City, a 3A team, by a score of 80-66. So Forest City at 23-1, Pella Christian at 24-0.
They had Mecklenburg. He was about 6'9", a real player, a good player, really good player, and a good shooting guard.
One thing was, we could front him all night. We'd run boxes and ones before and just run him. But we didn't feel we had anybody big enough to do that with, because he was 6'9". And the other thing was, is just to play on his side or front side as much as we possibly could to try to keep the ball from going in there.
I know we felt confident going in, but I think at that point it was more so about we've got to finish this off. We can't get to this point and have taken care of everything that we've taken care of to come out and, you know, not finish the job.
As the season went on, as the tournaments went on, the state tournament went on, we had more and more following just from the community. And that's, I think, just made it seem like as we went into that final game, there were people that we went to school with, people we did not go to school with. And just driving through that game and all the fanfare around us, it just seemed like everybody's behind us. We're not going to lose.
He's set up with Vandermolen on the wing. At the top is Eric Potoven. He is only a sophomore, but he certainly doesn't play like a sophomore. He's been on the varsity since his freshman year, and he is outstanding. The turnaround drops home by Brent Giddings, and it is a 2-0 lead for the Eagles. Here comes Forest City. The 3 try is long by Trickstad.
The thing about Trickstad is he's made 3 field goals in the 2 games. All are from the 3-point range.
Giddings connects. So Brett Giddings, who's averaging 8 points a game, has come in and popped in his first 2 shots.
I felt good. I mean, I started that game scoring some points. I'm thinking, man, the bucket seems like it's a swimming pool. I was like, every rebound, I'm going after every rebound. Our team was just, we trusted everybody. That was such a beautiful thing.
They do. Going after sometimes that takes you out of your offense. Oh, a good crossover dribble, and Potoven, sophomore, does it again. Boy, he's got a lot of poise. Well, in that situation, you're right. They had the right guy shooting the ball, 46% shooter from 3-point range. Same as he does on the 2-point shot in the season.
Potoven tries to answer. He can't, but Van Gort was there on the putback. And suddenly the Eagles have caught fire and, of course, have to have the emotional lift with Mecklenburg on the bench. And Pella Christian tries to build on a 6-point lead with exactly a minute to go in the first half.
I was sitting down in the short corner. I got the ball, and I'm like, man, I'm going to fall out of bounds here. I'm kind of like leaning out of bounds. I'm looking up. I'm like, I shoot this all the time, right?
Boy, he forces that. Unbelievable. He had to put that up over the edge of the basket.
Shot it, nothing but net. Crowd goes crazy, you know. I'm like, that was nothing.
We have to look at Greg Giddings' shot one more time.
Well, that's right. It'll be worth it. The ball actually overthrown and a good hustle. Watch where he is.
No way, no way, no way. Yeah. Do you believe that?
I used to play with Dr. Gritters growing up, and he was a pretty good shot. And the only way to beat him was stuff like that. I'd shoot over my house, over the garage, to try to make the shot. So, I mean, that shot was really actually easy.
Come on up here for just a second. Tell us about that shot from behind the glass here tonight.
I don't know. I just, out in the grade school, I always played with that, and tonight it went down, I guess.
It's in your repertoire, huh?
Yeah, it is.
So he did practice this shot, and he did put it to use in a state championship game, and which is ironic because it never happens to anybody, does it? I mean, you know how many people practice this and say they're in a state championship game, but they never get there? But he actually had it happen, and it actually goes in. So that's kind of the story of the whole year, right? I mean, that's just how it went. You know, everything went well.
I remember sitting on the bench, and he's pinned down. He's falling out of bounds. All of a sudden, here comes this ball, like come drop out of the ceiling, bang. And we're just like, did we really see what we thought we saw?
If you're Forest City and you see that going in, that's one of those things where you're like, oh, like, that's what tonight's going to be about.
It is the end of the first half with the score, Pella Christian 36 and Forest City 26. We'll be back at Veterans Auditorium in just a moment.
At halftime, it was like, we need to get out to a good start. If we come out in the second half and get off to a good start, they're in a lot of trouble.
Now the Eagles will try to put the cap on that great comeback by polishing off Forest City in the championship game. This is Vandermolen to get things started the right way for the Eagles with a 3. From the top, the line drive, Jay, won't go by Greg Pilgrim, and Pilgrim certainly has to get the hot hand from 3-point range if the Indians are to get back in this one. Mecklenburg can't do it alone. An unbelievable shooting at the outset by Pella Christian, as Vandermolen, who had only 1 basket in the first half, has 2 baskets in the early moments of the second half. And it's all Eagles now.
Maybe you call him a blue-collar player. He's blocking shots, rebounding.
Another drive by Potoven.
There's the sophomore. That's what makes him so effective. He can shoot the ball outside, but he's a good penetrator, too.
I had my dunk that game.
If you watch him, little crossover dribble. Watch the head and eyes up there. Van Gorp, or rather Mecklenburg, can't do anything about it. Those 3 fouls that he dishes off right there to Van Gorp.
And that, to me, seemed like finally, after I missed, I think 8 for the year, that was the one that went down.
For Bieleman than he did against Van Gorp, while Van Gorp's on the bench.
Well, you got to remember also, you know, as a sophomore, he took the senior also a couple times on the spin dribble.
Klein hits the 2 for Pella Christian. The Eagles with a lead of 62-48. And inside, a foul spotted, and the whistle is John Seglin, his second foul.
I was at the free throw line, and everybody had been subbed out. I made the first free throw, and the second free throw I missed. I intentionally fouled the Forest City player, and I went toward my bench.
Klein picking up the foul. I wonder.
You know, starting 5, we all get in like a huddle. It's like 1, 2, 3, and then I think we just said we did it, you know, and that was all 5 of us just doing that. And that was really special to watch for me to this day. I can watch it all the time.
It was surreal. I remember getting out on the court and being as nervous as I could be. I mean, of course the game was in hand, but just you were out there and it was huge, and yeah.
As you're finishing up the game, you're still playing. You know, there isn't really too much that you're thinking about the what's going on until that final horn goes off.
Not this time, and the ball game comes to a close. And Pella Christian leads not all the way, but most of the way. Really turns it on in the second half as Jerry Nickel and Bob Homer congratulate each other. Pella Christian, the champs in 2A. It doesn't get better than this for the Eagles, 25-0 in the state championship.
I remember I was kind of on the wrong end of the court and had to, then you're just looking for your teammates to go celebrate with, because, yeah, we finally did it. You know, we accomplished everything, every goal that we had set out for the year, and just wanted to be with the teammates and go find somebody to hug, and yeah.
We're, as assistant coaches with me, you know, we're just, you know, we're elated. We know we got it in the bag. We're just kind of get the clock over. We're sitting there hugging each other.
Satisfaction, joy, the culmination of so many years of hopes and dreams. And I think hats off to our team throughout those years. It wasn't just a dream for us, that we had a plan in place and we committed ourselves to the dirty work through all the years, and it was just joy. It was overwhelming.
I remember feeling just such a sense of accomplishment, you know, when that final buzzer went off.
One of the coolest things for some of us at the end of the bench was in the Des Moines Register on the front page the next day was 3 of us subs who hardly saw the floor probably, hoisting each other up for the camera.
There was excitement and a thrill and a pride of our team, and I remember the exact thing. You know, we win the game, we're all, you know, cheering, running around the court, whatever it was, and you know, Kevin's there, he picks me up.
My mom actually wrote a letter to the editor of the Des Moines Register making a comment about how cool it was that the Des Moines Register had posted this photo of, you know, some guys that maybe aren't the stars, and that was really meaningful to me.
To do it with the guys that you grew up with, I mean, it's a dream, you know. I mean, I know Mark and all these guys since kindergarten, you know, so that's another thing, that to actually pull this off with all these guys, you know, that you've known forever and become best friends with.
It was pure elation, right? I mean, obviously it was an amazing feeling. We knew how much it meant to us because it was, again, the culmination of a lot of work. But I think then seeing like what it meant to, you know, a lot of other people along the way is really what ultimately hit home.
To this day, I can't explain the feelings that come into you that you're experiencing. You know, when you set your eyes on a goal and finally, you know, it wasn't just for us, it was for the previous players, it was for the previous coaches, it was for the previous fans, you know, to be successful And to finally get to that point where you know, not only did we make it to the state tournament, which was our original goal, we won our first state championship and an undefeated season.
After winning the championship game, the celebration afterwards, and the pictures we were taking with the two up in the air, and that we, you know, I think throughout the year, you know, though we were competing hard, had a dream and a vision, wanted to accomplish stuff, I think we understand who we were too in the scheme of things, and we're able to compete more than just for ourselves and each other, but to do this with a bigger mission in mind. And it was gratifying to see us all as a team acknowledge to God of what we had accomplished after that was all said and done as well.
When we started that team that year, we made God number one, and we were number two. So we wanted to praise God first, and then everything else was on us.
We wanted to give glory to God, and I think that was a key thing for our team. And even now in this documentary, I want to make sure that we do everything we can to point that, you know, God was the one who gave us the abilities. God was the one who gave us the opportunity.
It's pretty hard to beat a perfect championship season. The Pella Christian Eagles and Coach Jerry Nickel.
Bus ride home, we got to probably Monroe, and then we started seeing the signs. Maybe even Prairie City a little bit. Started seeing a few signs.
I remember driving through Monroe, and the bowling alley had, "Congratulations, Eagles, 81-55 victory," on a Monroe bowling alley sign right outside their building. I was like, that's pretty cool, right?
The crowds, our classmates, I remember a lot of them, you know, doing crazy things. You know, I remember, I think it was Russ Vanderwert, John McClellan, those guys would do stuff with their pickups, trucks, and it's just, you know, just the fan base was amazing. It was a lot of fun.
Going back on the bus, I remember, and obviously there's a lot of people traveling back and forth, caravans, all this kind of stuff. I think that was the first time though that it actually like hit me.
Got back to the high school for the celebration. What I remember the most is how many people were there from the Pella community. They were there waiting for us, sitting there in the gymnasium at Pella Christian High School.
Welcome to the biggest celebration ever. It's really fitting that so many of you came here this evening to show one more time what you really think of our 1990 Eagles. Coaches and team members, all of us have come here to honor the best 2A team in the state, and I'm not so sure this may be the best team in the whole state.
I'm very thankful for being part of that group of guys and the experience we all had together. And yeah, when I come to the gym over the last 8 years or so, or to the school, you know, the pictures hanging on the wall and the trophies are in the case, and it spurs discussion and it jogs memories.
I could go on and on about this, but something like 25-0 just doesn't happen. You know, you have to have the dream, you have to believe in the dream, but not only in yourself, you got to believe in the other teammates. It's a team sport. You got to have the talent, then you got to have the coaches, okay, the system. You know, and we had a Hall of Fame coach, obviously Coach Nickel, and we had great assistants, and we had great game preparation. And then also you have to have a little luck. You know, things got to go your way a little bit to go 25-0.
It was the first time really in my life that I feel like I had set a major goal to accomplish something and then accomplished it, saw all the work that went into it, and I think really at that point made me believe that you know, anything is basically possible.
How I looked up to Greg Van Zullen as my hero, that's why I wanted to be a hero to somebody else growing up just like me. Like I was looking up to Greg, and I hope we delivered that. I think we did.
I'm just happy that, individually and as a team, that we could have, inspired, right, some of those kids to keep working hard at basketball and, having that as a realistic goal that they could achieve.
Getting there in 1990, it became a lot easier, quite honestly. Had such a positive effect on the program. It was a stepping stone for a lot of good teams in the future or down the road for them.
It was such an impetus to the school, for the school community and all its supporters.
Pella Christian basketball has been very successful in the last 30 years. In fact, we have 14 state tournament appearances in 30 years. 16 student athletes from Pella Christian have been honored to be a part of the all-tournament team. So if you think about that in 30 years, almost every other year on average, one of the Pella Christian athletes is being named to the elite team in the state in Class 2A. So that's pretty special.
My son Cade and I are the only two-generation participants in the state basketball tournament as Pella Christian players. And so I could watch Cade and see him twice make the state tournament and just be appreciative that he was able to have that experience as well, but also just understanding how rare it is for a team to have not only the capacity and skill to do it, but have everything fall into place.
It's rare. It's rare to have the right combination of people and servant-heartedness and all of the components that it takes to have chemistry. Everybody always talks about chemistry, but it's real. And that was a unique moment, the way it all pieced together to accomplish that goal.
I appreciate that year more and more as time goes by, just because it's special to be part of a winning team. Any team, but just to see people work together and have, success come out of it, I value that more.
All 5 of us on the floor played for each other at any given time. That's what I loved about it. We played the game of basketball the whole season.
I can't say enough about how those guys were great leaders. They were always picking you up, when you fell down, always striving to make you better. They believed in your future. They believed in, the program, and they wanted to make you as successful as they were. Really an unselfish team.
It's the bond that you build, right? The friendships, no matter how much time has gone by, that those are the things that you appreciate even as much as the championships, which are super cool. Don't get me wrong, the championships are great. So
I think about them often. The accomplishment that we did that season, that it just wasn't the stars, it wasn't just the coaches, they were a big part of my life at that time in my life. And I remember them fondly.
It was truly a magical season.